So very good afternoon to all the students. Today we study about the classification, composition and the properties of major nitrogenous potassic, uh, uh, phosphatic and secondary major nutrients and micronutrients, fertilizers and complex fertilizer. We have to study all about this in today's lecture. So if I talk about this lecture, you get the information regarding what are fertilizers, what are nitrogenous fertilizers, what are phosphatic fertilizers, what are their properties, okay, then what are potassium fertilizer, their classification, their properties, their composition, then secondary macronutrient fertilizers, then micronutrient fertilizer, okay, then complex fertilizers. So we have to learn about all these things in this lecture. So if I talk about fertilizers, you all know they are the natural or synthetic chemicals which we are preparing organically and synthetically in our industries. Okay. So another definition of fertilizer is it is any kind of a chemical material which can be prepared in industries so that they can supply proper nutrients to the crop plant which is needed by all type of crops, okay, for their better growth and development. And if I talk about uh, nitrogenous fertilizer. So what are nitrogenous fertilizer? Firstly, we have to know why we are studying these fertilizers, because you all know that during the green revolution we are also start using fertilizers, right? So we have to focus at that time we are focuses on nitrogen, phosphorus and potash. Why? Because our soil is deficient at that time. They are deficient in nitrogen, phosphorus and potash, and you all know that all these NPK are the essential macronutrients, and they are considered as primary nutrient or base nutrient which is needed by a crop plant. So if I talk about what is nitrogen, so you all know that it is an essential plant food, okay. And one thing more, the green color they is due to nitrogen. Or if there is a, I can say, you heard about a leaf color chart. So what is tell the nitrogen content in the plant, okay, through leaves, okay. Second thing, in atmosphere you all know there is 80% of nitrogen, but it is in gaseous form, so we can't, the plants cannot use it. So that's why we are using it by preparing fertilizers, manures, okay. So some kind of soil organism are also there, like rhizobium, okay, which are fixing nitrogen in the soil, and that nitrogen is available to the crop plants, okay. Then another, what are nitrogenous fertilizers? These are those chemical substances which can contain the elemental nitrogen in that, which can be absorbable by the plants. Okay, either it in nitrate form, nitrate and ammonical form, so that the yield of the plant get increased due to elemental nitrogen or ammonium or nitrate. So if I talk about rice, so it can take nitrogen in the form of ammonia, okay. Only that crop is used nitrogen in the form of ammonia, and other crops use nitrogen in the, or take nitrogen in the form of nitrate. Okay, so if I talk about the nitrogenous fertilizers, what does they do? They stimulate the growth of non-legumes, and they increase the active organic matter in the soil by speeding up the decomposition of the dead and decaying plant parts. Okay, so nitrogen also provide, I can say, available nitrogen. Due to nitrogenous fertilizer, they also supply available nitrogen to both the grasses and legume crops also, when the soil temperature is low. Okay, and the soil is too wet at that time, nitrification process is happening, in which the protein is break down into amino acid. Then that amino acid divided into ammonia, then that ammonia is further divided into nitrate and nitrate. So this is the whole process how nitrogen is going into our soil and plants take it. Okay. So then it also help in getting the new legumes seedlings. If we are supplying nitrogen, so they are what they are doing. They are also helping new emergence of the seedlings. Okay. Then nitrogenous fertilizer also provide the nitrogen both for grasses and legume, as I already told you, through nitrification processes. And then it also decomposes our straw and other crop residue. If we are supplying nitrogenous fertilizers, so what they are doing, they are enhancing the faster decomposition of straw and other crop residues, and it also increases the protein content in the grass, grains, or all the consumptive parts of non-leguminous crops. Okay. Second thing, they also increase the growth caused by the nitrogen, and they are also applied as soil as, and they are applied as commercial fertilizers. Commercial means we are using it for our main field and for larger area. So if I talk about what is the classification of nitrogenous fertilizers, so it is divided into four. Okay. Ammonical nitrate, ammonical nitrate, and amide form. Okay. So if I talk about the ammonical form, so that is the fertilizer came under it is ammonium sulfate, ammonium chloride, and hydrous ammonia. If I talk about nitrates, so they can contain sodium nitrate, calcium nitrate, potassium nitrate. So these are the chemicals which are, or fertilizer which are nitrate form. Okay. And here you see in ammonical form there is ammonium. Okay. Then if I talk about both ammonical and nitrate form, so it come under ammonium nitrate, calcium ammonium nitrate, which is not preparing nowadays. Instead of can, we are using urea. Okay. And the can is also known as Kisan Khad. Okay. Third is ammonium sulfate nitrate. So these are the fertilizer which we are using in the form of ammonical and nitrate. Okay. Then if I talk about amide fertilizer, so they are urea and calcium cyanamide. Okay. So these are some chemical formulas of nitrogenous fertilizers. You have to see that there is ammonium sulfate. So ammonia, the chemical formula of ammonia is NH3. But if we talk about ammonium ions, ammonium, I can say it is NH4 positive. Okay. Positive means that are in cation form. Okay. If anything, any chemical formula contain positive sign, it means that are cations which have positively charged. Then sodium nitrate. So nitrate are negatively charged. Okay. Then calcium nitrate, then ammonium nitrate, then urea. So urea, this is the chemical forms or chemical formula of these some nitrogenous fertilizer. And now I have to talk about some commonly used nitrogenous fertilizer. Like first is ammonium sulfate. If I talk about the ammonium sulfate, so it contains two things or two nutrients. One is nitrogen, another is sulfur, because the name is ammonium sulfate. So if I talk about the content or the composition of ammonium sulfate, so it contains two nutrients. One is nitrogen and another is sulfur. So the percentage of nitrogen is 21.2% and the percentage of sulfur is 27.5% in ammonium sulfate. Okay. And they can be I can say if some of the chemicals ammonium sulfate also contain 20 to 21% of nitrogen in the ammonical form. Okay. In the market they are sold as 20 to 21%. Okay. Because different companies are preparing it, so the concentration is varying from 20 to 21%, and they are fine crystalline salt, and they are varying in color from white through various shades of gray. It can be in white, the color is also white, or I can say gray. Okay. Then if I talk about ammonium sulfate, so it is also known as sulfate of ammonia. Okay, another term used for this fertilizer is the sulfate of ammonia. Then if ammonia the nitrogen does not leach down, so we are ready to apply in our field because it acts as a good source of nitrogen, and especially when there is a irrigated conditions, so we can apply it because it can't leach down. Okay. Then another is it is water soluble. It can be applied through I can say sprinkler irrigation system. We mix it in the water and it can be easily be available to our crop plants through sprinkler method. And it is an acidic residue fertilizer. So it furthermore it increases the soil acidity. Then if I talk about some disadvantage, or I can say some drawback of this fertilizer, so we cannot mix it with super phosphate. Okay, it is single super phosphate. We can't mix ammonium sulfate with single super phosphate because there is a chemical reaction takes place which further need into hardiness of the soil. Okay, it can be made if it is mixed, and it can be settled down on our soil surface, which causes the hardiness on our soil surface, so we can't mix it with the single superphosphate. Okay, then the next is ammonium nitrate. So if I talk about this ammonium nitrate, so it is available in the market, but it contains near about 32.5 to 33.5% of nitrogen, and one half of the nitrogen is about 16.5%, means half of it is in the ammonical form and half of it is in the nitrate form. So both the ammonical and nitrate form is available to the crop plant. Okay, so ammonium nitrate on the market, that it should be in granular form. Okay, and its color varies from white to pink. Okay, and it is white crystalline materials. Okay, and we are applying it in a granular form. Okay, in grains. Next thing, it is a commercial ammonium nitrate which is available in the market, is basically white in color. Okay, and it is also soluble in water and can be spread by putting it through the sprinkler irrigation, as it is water soluble, so it doesn't cause any kind of damage to our nozzle, or it cannot infect or cause any kind of damage to our nozzle which are using for irrigation purpose. Then ammonium nitrate is a quick acting fertilizer because half of its nitrogen is in nitrate form, which is easily available or taken by the plants. And it can be used as a good advantage during the growing season. When extra nitrogen is urgently needed, we can easily apply this ammonium nitrate because half of it is nitrate form, so it can be easily available to the crop plant or easily taken by the crop plant. But one disadvantage or what drawback of this fertilizer is that when it is come into the atmosphere under certain conditions, so it can be ignited or detonated. Okay, if it come in contact with the atmosphere, so it needs a proper care and handling, and it is an acidic residue fertilizer. Then the next and the main nitrogenous fertilizer is urea. As you all know that if we want to apply urea, so we are using it in a high amount in our fields. Okay, so this is the major nitrogenous fertilizer which we are using all over India. Okay, or I can say all over the world, but it depends upon the soil type. But in our areas or in our country, we are using urea as a basic nitrogenous fertilizer because it contains the maximum content of nitrogen. Near about 42% of the nitrogen is contained by this urea. Okay, so what happened, so it is a amide form fertilizer. So what happened, it convert the urea is directly converted into ammonia. And if the soil is warm, the bacterial activity or microbial activity start acting on it. And during the cold weather, the application of urea is, I can say, quite slow. We can't apply at that time. We are just applying in the, I can say, in summer season, mostly in large amount, or when the temperature is not that much low. Okay, at that time we are applying urea. Second thing, it is a good fertilizer. We are also applying it before seeding, and it should not be applied in large amount at one time, because it affect the germinating seeds, because all the bacteria start acting rapidly on this urea, which contains some uric compounds, which further infect the seedling. As you all know that when we are growing any kind of seedling, or we are preparing for a nursery, at that time we are not using any kind of we are using the chemicals, but not in large amount. So for that, what we are doing, we are applying these kind of chemicals in very less amount, or just for as a, just for, I can say, if the crop need it in 100%, so we are just applying 10% at the time of seedling, because they can burn the seedlings. If they are applying directly to their roots, it can burn their roots, and the seedling can't grow properly in that particular nursery, or in that particular crop, sorry, pot. And it can be applied before planting. Okay, because some of the seedlings also use the nitrogen, but they are using the nitrogen in ammonical form. Okay, because you all know that urea is directly converted into ammonia, so they are using it. But if we are overdose that particular field or particular pot, so it directly harm our seedling. Okay, so ammonia that is not by used by the seedling is converted to nitrates, and then used by the growing plants. What happened? The ammonia form is converted into nitrate or nitrite form, because you all know that only single crop is needed nitrogen in ammonical form, that is only rice, and other crops need the nitrogen in the form of nitrate. So what happens? Seedling does not use directly, they are convert, the bacteria convert ammonia into I can say nitrate form, and then it can be used by our seedlings. Okay, so you all know that urea is resistant to leaching, until it is converted to nitrate nitrogen. Because what happened, like if you broadcasting urea in your field, so you all know that it has a volatilization process occur. So some of the urea get evaporated with the water, and some get leached down. So this is the, I can say, the drawback. So what happened if we are applying urea? So we have to apply at that time when there is no too much light there, and the evaporation rate should be lower. We have to apply at that time. Okay, and these are some images of, like, first is ammonium nitrate, second is sulfate that is in a powder form, and then is urea that is in a granular form. You see the ammonium nitrate and urea is kind of similar, but the granulars of nitrates is quite bigger than the urea. Okay, then if I talk about sodium nitrate, so it contains about 16% of nitrogen. Okay, and it can be in the nitrate form. We are studying the nitrate, so sodium nitrate contain only nitrate form. So I am talking about sodium nitrate. So we are not applying it in spring season. Okay, because that time the nitrate nitrogen is not taken up the taken by the crop plants. And what happened? Uh, it the that sodium nitrate fertilizer is get leached down into their root zone and harm our crop. So in the time, at the time of spring season, that is a very short time period, or I can say very short season. So we are not applying these kind of fertilizers in our spring season, because crop get damaged at that time. Okay, and if then next is calcium nitrate. So it contains near about 15.5% of nitrogen in it, and that is also in nitrate form there, because we are studying the nitrate fertilizers. So it is also in a granular form, and it has a good spreading quality, but it has a tendency to draw moisture, and it can be easily exposed when it is easily exposed to the air. Okay, and second thing is that we have to broadcast it in dry day, okay, when the relative humidity is around 40%, okay, and it is easily soluble in water and we can apply with our irrigation. So it is a basic fertilizers. Calcium nitrate is a basic fertilizer and it can't increase the acidity of soil, okay. Then comes the anhydrous ammonia. So if I talk about anhydrous ammonia, it is the pure nitrogen which is taken from the air, okay, and it is manufactured, and it is a form of synthetic nitrogen fertilizer. And ammonia is also commonly, if I talk about what is ammonia, so it is a gas which is used, and which is, I can say, put it in a commercial refrigeration, and then it is a kind of gas, but it is compressed to a liquid. In atmospheric condition it is a gas, but if I talk about how we can apply them, so we are compressing it into liquid, and it has around 81 to 82% of nitrogen in it, which is in ammonical form, okay. So there is two method of applying this, and anhydrous ammonia. One is direct injection to the soil, okay, because mostly we are using this method because it is easily to inject it into the soil, because the loss of anhydrous ammonia or nitrogen is quite less, okay, and otherwise we are using a chisel plow, okay, so at a depth of 4 inches, okay. Then it is a tank of anhydrous ammonia, okay. It is in when it is applied, that is in a tank, okay, that is put in a tank, then it is easily applied in the crop field. Then this is sodium nitrate and this is calcium nitrate, okay. Then comes the phosphatic fertilizers. So if I talk about phosphatic fertilizers, these are the chemicals which are applied in the field and which contain the elemental phosphorus, which is in anion form, means that is in negatively charged form. The phosphatic content, or I can say the phosphorus in that should be in anionic form, okay. And if I come talk about the classifications of phosphatic fertilizers, so first classification is based upon the relative solubility. Okay, solubility means water soluble, citrate soluble, water and citrate insoluble. So they are divided into three types. First is the water soluble phosphorus or phosphatic fertilizer. It means these kind of fertilizer or phosphatic fertilizer are easily solubilized in water, and they can be applied or taken by the plant very easily and quickly. So the some of the example is SSP means single superphosphate, DSP double superphosphate, TSP also there, tri superphosphate, then ammonium phosphate. So these are the example of water soluble phosphatic fertilizer or phosphorus fertilizers. So as you know that here you see that if it is a single superphosphate, so the percentage of phosphorus in it is 16 to 18%. And then if I talk about the double superphosphate, then it is 32%. And if I talk about TSP, that is tri-superphosphate, the percentage of phosphorus, the content of phosphorus is around 48%. And similarly, there is ammonium phosphate. So ammonium and phosphate means it contains the ammonia also and the phosphorus also. So the ammonia contain the nitrogen, so the nitrogen content is 20%, and the phosphorus content is also same, that is 20%. So these fertilizers are quite, I can say, neutral to alkaline soils, and they should be applied at the time of sowing. And immediately after the application, the this phosphorus get easily insoluble in the form of dicalcium phosphate. So we are applying them with water, okay, and they are preferred granular form as compared to the powdered form, okay. Then water and citrate insoluble fertilizers. So water and citrate means these fertilizers which are not insoluble in water as well as in citric acid or citrate. So they are insoluble, okay. So the example is rock phosphate, and it contains near about 20 to 40% of phosphorus. And these type of phosphatic fertilizer are suited for acidic soils. See, the water soluble fertilizers are suitable for the alkaline soils, and these kind of water citrate insoluble phosphatic fertilizer are suitable for acidic soils or organic soils, and they can be we can apply them in a large amount so that the soil fertility get be raised, and we are applying them through broadcasting method. Okay, but if we are applying in our field, so before the sowing we are apply them before 1 month. Okay, by taking up that crop so that the uh, phosphorus get easily solubilized at the time of sowing. Okay, then then come the based on the form in which there is orthophosphoric acid. The orthophosphoric acid is also known as phosphoric acid, and we are dividing them by combining with calcium. So these are three: orthophosphate, polyphosphate, metaphosphate. So if I talk about the orthophosphate, we are just have to learn about the definition. Sorry, the examples. DAP means diammonium phosphate. SSP is single superphosphate. If I talk about what is SSP, so you can easily give that example. They are water soluble phosphatic fertilizer, and they also come under orthophosphate. Then polyphosphate. Okay, so the example is ammonium polyphosphate, potassium polyphosphate. And if I talk about metaphosphate, though, that is ammonium metaphosphate and potassium metaphosphate. And next comes the potassic fertilizer. If I talk about potassic fertilizer, so it is derived from a Latin and German word with the symbol K, that is kalium. Okay, so it is an Arab word, alkali, means ash. Okay, and in English it is known as potash, but in French it is known as potassic. In French language it is potassic. So in older days what is happening, we are using wood ash, so that is a major source of potash because it contains a number of potassic salts in it. So from this word we are called it potash, means pot and ash. Okay, so it contains chlorides of chloride, sulfates, and carbonates of potash, calcium, and magnesium. Okay, so we are preferring him like we are still using them as a fertilizer technology. We are taking potash in the form of K2O, as we are taking phosphorus in the form of P2O5. We are taking potash in the form of K2O. Okay, then, if I talk about the classification of potassic fertilizers, so they are divided into chlorides and non-chlorides. So basically, some kind of important materials which contain this potash is wood ash, tobacco stem, wool's waste, flue dust, seaweed, seawater, and there are some processed fertilizer also like muriate of potash, muriate of sulfate, which are acting as a synthetic fertilizers. So if I talk about the classification of potassic fertilizers, so they are divided into three. One is natural, second is processed, and third is synthetic. So natural means which are available in our nature. Okay, that material which contain potash and easily available in our nature or environment, that are natural. Then processed means which are we are preparing or manufacturing with a long process. Then synthetic. Okay, so if I talk about the organic potash fertilizer sources, so these are wood ash, tobacco. You all know that wood ash is prepared from burning the wood, twigs, and branches of the trees, shrubs, herbs. है ना? So that are wood ash, and it contains near about 5 to 25% of K2O. Okay, and the wood ash is highly alkaline. Okay, but we can't apply them in the germinating crop. The crop which is germinating, we can't apply wood ash at that time. When it is in a standing form or it is out of the soil, then we can apply it. Okay, then about we talk about the tobacco stem. So in this when there is a manufacturing of cigarettes, cigars, and chewing tobaccos, there the product byproduct is formed. Okay, that byproduct is further be used as a I can say potassic fertilizer sources. So it contain about 4 to 10% of K2O and 2 to 3% of nitrogen. So it is a, I can say, we are applying them in a bulk. Okay, Then if I talk about the seaweeds, then seawater. And the seaweeds are also known as poor man's manure. What does it mean? It contains near about high amount of potash in it with species of weeds. You all know that weeds are the undesirable plants. So seaweeds mean aquatic weeds. And out of many variety, kelp is found to be extensively throughout the world, and which contain more content of potash in it, and it has around 25% of K2O. Okay, and if I talk about seawater, means the water, the potash which is available in the seawater is around zero point 0.04% of potash, and magnesium is 0.14%. Similarly, calcium, the range of potassium and calcium is approximately same, and the sodium percentage is 1.14. Then the potassic minerals and processed potash fertilizers. If I talk about, near about 50 minerals are uh, those which contains potash, but they are not economically important. Like if I show you one picture here, that here you see that minerals highly soluble in water, okay, occurs in brine and soil deposit. So there are some kind of minerals here. Okay, so each and every mineral contain potash. Okay, like sylvinite, kaolinite, kyanite, and langbeinite. Similarly, the mineral which contain less soluble in waters, that is polyhalite, but it also contain potash. Similarly, insoluble in water is gluconite, okay, feldspar, because they are these minerals are insoluble in water, but they also contain the potash. Okay. Then come the muriate of potash. It is the chemical formula is KCl. Okay, so if I talk about MOP, also known as MOP, so it is a white crystalline salt, and the color ranges from white to red based on the impurities. Second thing is that the crystalline MOP is not hygroscopic, means it is not available to our crop. Okay, so one thing more, that MOP contain is 58% of K2O in it and 47% of chloride, because it's KCl, so it contains the K2O also and chloride also, and it is neutral in reaction, and it does don't produce either acidity or alkalinity in the soil. Okay, then the potassium sulfate, that is K2SO4, means sulfate of potash. It is also known as sulfate of potash, and it is prepared from kyanite, that is a mineral. I can tell you in previous slide, and one from kyanite and langbeinite. We are using both these minerals for producing this potassium sulfate. Okay, so it is a white crystalline soil. It is less hygroscopic as compared to MOP, and it is free flowing, mean it can be flow freely. Okay, and then it contains 48% of K2O and 18% of sulfur in it, and it is also neutral. And we are mostly preferring potassium chloride, because why so, because it contains more potash as compared to sulfate of potash, so we are applying, or we are preferring MOP more. And one drawback of MOP is that we cannot apply it in tobacco crop, because if we are applying it, so it like directly affect its leaf. In tobacco crop we are using its I can say the leaf part, or mostly the leaf part, and we are making some kind of cigars, cigarettes. So that if we are applying KCl in it, so it contain more number of or higher content of potash in it. So what happened, the leaves of that plant get burn out, so we are not applying KCl. Okay, and it also it contains the Cl also, so it also result in because they are positive and negatively charged, so the Cl content is also helps in burning that leaves of that tobacco. So we are preferred potassium sulfate at that time, because it don't contain any kind of chlorine, it contains sulfur, so we are applying potassium sulfate at that time in tobacco crop. Then another characteristics or properties of potassium fertilizer is that we are applying it before the crop also. They are also applied in at the time of basal dressing, and since the potash is not lost from the soil either by leaching and by fixation, so they are easily be applied in the field, and they can be applied well in the field. Okay, but we have to apply them just before planting. And top dressing we also done at the time of in vegetable crops and other crops also. We are preferring top dressing also, but basically we are applying it before the sowing of the crops. And then come the complex fertilizers. So these are those fertilizers which have two or more major plant nutrients, means from NPK or calcium, magnesium, sulfur. They should have two, I can say, primary nutrients. Either it's NP or PK or NK or NP. Okay, so they are solid in nature and they are granular in form. So their production involve a homogeneous mixture of two or more nutrients carrier, and followed by granular. Mostly they are in granular form. They should be in two or more major nutrients should be there in these type of complex fertilizers. Okay, if I talk about their characteristics, so it has, I can say, higher content of plant nutrients. The complex fertilizer have higher content of plant nutrients, and they are also known as high lineaceous fertilizer because it can contain more than 25% of all the major plant nutrients. And they can be in a very good physical condition. The condition of these type of complex fertilizers are quite good. Okay, and they supply NP in an available form to the soil in one operation. We are just combining it industrially, and we can apply them easily into our crop field. Like if I tell you about any example, that is DAP, that is diammonium phosphate, in which the phosphate content is near about 46% and the nitrogen content is 18%. So by one application of DAP, we are applying both the nitrogen and phosphorus is easily be available to the crop plants or in the soil. And then if I talk about the classification, so there is two types. One is incomplete, second is complete. So in incomplete, it contains only two major nutrients, okay, like nitrogen and phosphorus in a chemical combination. But in complete, we contain all the three major nutrients and PK both. NPK, all of three are known as complete complex fertilizer if they are prepared through chemical combination. Okay. Then come the secondary nutrient fertilizer, that are, you all know that secondary macronutrients are calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. So in secondary nutrient fertilizer, there are some fertilizers which we are using, like calcium fertilizers. The example is burn lime, hydrated lime, calcite lime, basic slag, gypsum. These are the, I can say, the examples of calcium fertilizers. So they are the multi nutrient liquid fertilizers. They are prepared like they are, we are mixing them and we are preparing the in the form of liquid. Okay, so they are burnt lime, hydrated lime. Okay, mostly you all know that lime contain calcium oxide. So everything, the term here, that calcium lime, dolomitic lime, basic slag, gypsum. So these are calcium fertilizers. If I talk about the magnesium fertilizer, though, they are also contain magnesium oxide, dolomite, kieserite, langbeinite, magnesium sulfate, because langbeinite contain both potash and magnesium. So these are some magnesium fertilizers. Then come the sulfur fertilizers. So plant take the sulfur in the form of sulfate ions. So we are applying gypsum. You know the formula of gypsum, that is calcium sulfate plus molecules of water. That is the chemical formula of gypsum. Okay, it is applied and it is also used as a soil amendment. Okay, we are using gypsum as a soil amendment. We are using lime as a soil amendment. Okay, but it has very slow acting fertilizer. It can act good, but it is slow acting apply fertilizer. We have to apply it before 1 month or before 2 months before the sowing of the crop, because they are slow acting fertilizers, so it can't be easily be solubilized in water. Okay, another examples of uh, these sulfur fertilizers are ammonium sulfate, potassium sulfate. Then come the micronutrient fertilizer. So in this we learn about all the micronutrient like boron, zinc, manganese, molybdenum, copper, chlorine, iron, and last one is nickel. Okay, so these are the micronutrients, and the fertilizer which contain these micronutrients are micronutrient fertilizers. And if I talk about the iron fertilizers, so mostly they are in chelate form. Means we are preparing such structures, we are making the salts of or the complex, we are making some complex material, okay, which contain these kind of micronutrients, and they can be applied as a foliar spray. Okay, and we have to apply them in a repetition. Okay, it we are applying them according to the deficiency. If there is a deficiency, so we are applying the iron fertilizer or zinc fertilizer, because we all know that nowadays the major micronutrient deficiency was on the on the crops are iron and zinc. These are the two micronutrient deficiency are found in our Indian soil. So we are focusing on applying these kind of iron chelates or zinc sulfate. These are some fertilizers or chemicals we apply so that the deficiency should be overcome due to the application of these fertilizers. Okay, then come the manganese fertilization. So manganese sulfate is used and it is water soluble, and we are applying them on the foliar. Okay, and it can be also used as a soil dressing, means we can also apply them in soil, and we are preferring we prefer it on the soils which are deficient in manganese. Okay, then come the copper fertilization. So we are using copper sulfate here, and the other name is blue vitriol. Okay, and it is the older water soluble copper fertilizer, and it can be applied similar as both soil and foliar application, through foliar application and soil application, and it has acidic in nature. Okay, so due to which there is a scorching of leaf, means the leaf are burned down if we are doing foliar applications. Okay, we are also using green copper chelates. They are safe to use. Okay, and copper removal by the crops is around 30 to 100 gram per hectare per year. Means if we are applying copper fertilizer, so what happened? And the crop gain it near about 30 to 100 gram per hectare per year, and it is highly immobile in soil. That is not mobile, means copper is not I can say easily available to the crop, that will be available in a fixed form. So we are applying them on the top of the uh, crop, or I can say foliar application through chelates, or I can say through granular forms. Last is the zinc fertilization. In zinc fertilization, we are using zinc sulfate mostly, and it is the water soluble fertilizer. We can use it as a water soluble fertilizer, and it is acidic in nature, and it also causes leaf scorching. Okay, so what we are doing, we are using zinc sulfate through acid forming nitrogen fertilizers. Mean we are using zinc coated urea. Okay, if we are want to apply zinc in the field, so what we are doing, we using zinc coated nitrogenous fertilizer, zinc coated urea we are also using, and the near with the crop take near about 100 to 400 gram of copper per hectare per year. Okay. Next come the boron fertilization. So for overcoming the deficiency of boron, we are using borax. That is a sodium tetraborate. The chemical is sodium tetraborate, and it also water soluble boron fertilizers, and it can be applied to soil or foliage. And the crop remove the boron near about 50 gram per hectare per year. Okay, so we are also using the chelates here. I will describe what are chelates. That they are the complex material which are very, I can say, used as a very covering purpose, so that it can the rings like structure. Okay, then come the molybdenum fertilization. So we are using sodium molybdate, as the deficiency are not maximum in these kind of micronutrients. So we are just making them, but we are not using for commercial purpose. But we have to know if there is a deficiency, what fertilizer should be used. So sodium molybdate and ammonium molybdate is used for curing the molybdenum deficiency, and we are applying them in soil as well as in foliar application, and we also doing seed treatment with it. Okay, and the crops near remove about 5 to 20 gram per hectare per year. Then come the classification. Based on the classification, we are dividing our micronutrient fertilizer into two. One is inorganic salt and second is chelates. So if I talk about inorganic salts, means these are a kind of salts like zinc sulfate, copper sulfate, manganese sulfate, iron sulfate. Okay, so these are easily soluble in water, and we are using it for both purposes, means for soil application and for foliar application also. And next come the chelates. So in chelates, we are using them only for micronutrient fertilizers. So these are the metallic molecules, okay, of different sizes and shape, and we are binding the organic part of the nutrient into a ring like EDTA. So what is EDTA? It is ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. Okay, and what is HEDTA? That is hydroxyethyl ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. So these are the full form of these two. Okay, EDTA means the fertilizer contain, if I can say, there is a zinc EDTA, means what we are doing, we are using EDTA, and EDTA we are binding our organic part, means our zinc or manganese or iron into it, and we are using it like that. Okay, so these are the some references you can prefer for studying this lecture. Okay, thank you.